My parents actually dragged me into court for buying a house. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Just last month, after 13 years of busting my back, living on instant noodles and pinching every single penny, I finally closed on my very first home. And instead of congratulations, what did I get? A court summons from my own mom and dad. Their reason, according to them, that house should have gone to your sister. At first, I honestly thought it was some kind of twisted joke. But nope, they were dead serious. I didn't even hire an attorney. I decided to stand on my own, face to face with my parents in that courtroom. And when I finally exposed the truth behind their little scheme, the entire room froze. You could have heard a pin drop, and just like that, their whole case crumbled like a soap bubble. I'm the oldest child in the family. I started working when I was 16, delivering pizzas, lifting boxes, scrubbing dishes, anything that would help me survive. Now, just when I've managed to crawl my way out of poverty, my own parents come at me like I'm some kind of villain. I still can't fully wrap my head around it. And believe me, what came next is just as insane. By the time I turned 18, I was already financially independent. While most of my friends were worrying about prom dates and after parties, I was socking away every tip and paycheck from restaurant shifts and delivery runs to scrape together enough money for my first car. A beat-up 98 Honda with more than 200,000 miles on it. Cost me $800, but it got me where I needed to go. I put myself through community college, juggled full-time work, then later invested in a coding boot camp. I grinded nonstop to earn tech certifications, and eventually I broke into the field of cybersecurity. Been working in that industry for 8 solid years now, and let me tell you, it's been nonstop hustle. Meanwhile, my sister Julia, she's 32 now, has always been the golden child. My parents gave her the world. She went to some fancy private university, studied abroad in Europe for 2 semesters, and even earned a master's in art history. Every step of the way, mom and dad covered her tuition, her rent, her travel money, and even luxury vacations every spring break. When she turned 16, they surprised her with a brand new car, keys wrapped in a bow. Me? I've never had a real vacation in my life. No flashy clothes, no designer anything, no wild parties. I spent nearly 10 years crammed into shared apartments with roommates. It wasn't until just last year that I finally managed to move into a place of my own. And then finally, I bought my first real home. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a backyard just big enough to plant a small vegetable garden. Price tag? $385,000. I saved up a full 20% down payment, 77 grand, without a cent of help. No loans from family. No gifts. Just me. Honestly, I'm proud of that. 2 days after picking up the keys, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "We need to talk about the house. Call me ASAP." At first, I thought maybe he wanted to come see it. But when I called, I was completely blindsided. He looked at me over video chat, face serious, and said, "We've talked it over as a family, and we think it would be fairer if Julia had the house." I froze. "What are you talking about?" He didn't even flinch. "She's drowning in student debt, sweetheart. Rent in the city is too much for her. You're doing well. You could always buy another place." I actually laughed at first, thinking he couldn't possibly mean it. But then Mom called too, doubling down. "We raised you, supported you. It's time to give back to the family. Your sister needs a safe home. Don't be selfish." My chest tightened. 8 years. 8 years of scraping and saving, and they wanted me to just hand everything over, because my sister somehow deserved it more. I tried to stay calm, but then Dad started yelling, saying I had a moral obligation to give Julia the house. At that point, I quietly hung up. Not because I didn't care, but because if I kept listening, I was afraid I'd never be able to forgive them. A week later, I got served. Yep, actual legal papers. My parents were suing me for my own house. The lawsuit claimed I owed them $300,000 for raising me, that Julia deserved the property because of her student loans, and that since I was financially stable, I could just buy another home. They argued that as parents, they had the right to redistribute family assets. But here's the craziest part. They didn't just want me to sign the house over to Julia. They also wanted me to keep paying the mortgage for 2 more years until she was ready to take it on. Stay away from me. 3-week update. I can't believe how much attention this whole mess has gotten. Honestly, the support I've received kept me from losing my mind. So here's where things stand now. I chose to represent myself. Yeah, I know a lot of people warned me against it, but I didn't want to sink 10 grand into a lawyer for a case this ridiculous. I've always been good at research and paperwork, so I figured I could manage. And while digging into everything, I uncovered something wild. My aunt, Dad's sister, is the one bankrolling their lawsuit. She's despised me ever since I skipped out on inviting her to my community college graduation. Truth is, I didn't even walk that day. It felt pointless for a 2-year degree. Anyway, she's been going around telling the whole family I'm arrogant, that I think I'm better than everyone just because I work in tech. Meanwhile, Julia has been posting on social media like the house is already hers. She's literally stealing Pinterest photos of pretty homes and captioning them with, "Can't wait to make this place mine. Thanks to my parents for fighting for what's right. Family first." My parents even tried to rope my grandparents into their nonsense. Grandpa shut it down immediately and told them to knock it off. Grandma was gentler about it, but even she said they were acting out of line. As for the court case, the first hearing is 2 months away. The docket's packed. In the meantime, I've been prepping like a madman. Bank statements, mortgage documents, proof of my down payment, job history. Everything I can possibly bring to the table. Their lawyer? Just some low-level attorney my aunt scraped up. We did try to discuss a settlement, though. Their demands? They wanted full ownership of the house transferred to Julia, me continuing to pay off the mortgage for 24 months, $5,100 for emotional damages. And, get this, a written apology for tearing the family apart. Couldn't help it. I laughed so hard I actually snorted, then hung up the phone. But the family drama didn't stop. My mom blasted me on Facebook, posting, "Some children forget where they came from. We gave him everything. Our name, our love, our support, our values. And this is how he repays us." His sister, Julia, has student loans and no stable housing. A good son would help his family. I'm a disappointed mother. Family values. Of course, my aunt chimed in right away. "Shameful behavior. Your sister needs that house more than you need your selfishness." And to top it all off, I got officially uninvited from Thanksgiving. My mom sent out a family text. "Due to recent events and my name's selfish decision to harm his sister's future, he will not be welcome at family gatherings until he does the right thing. Anyway, I'm ordering Chinese and watching football at home." Update 2. Court day finally came. 2 months after my first update. And wow, what a circus. I got there early, dressed sharp, carrying all my documents neatly organized. My parents rolled in with Julia, my aunt, and, get this, they were all wearing matching t-shirts with giant letters that read, "Family comes first." The drama kicked off the moment the judge closed the door. Julia rushed toward me, tears in her eyes, arms wide like she wanted to hug me. "I forgive you for pushing things this far," she sobbed. I stepped back. She staggered forward awkwardly, her arms hanging in the air like she'd been reaching for a ghost. From behind her, my aunt whispered bitter little comments, low enough not to draw attention, but sharp enough to sting. The judge smacked the gavel, called for order, and officially opened the hearing. Their lawyer went first, already red in the face, looking like he regretted taking the case. He stumbled through his opening. "Your Honor, my clients have poured their hearts, emotions, and years of financial sacrifice into raising the defendant. Julia is drowning in student debt. She doesn't have stable housing, and..." That's when I stood up, calm as could be. "Your Honor, I am the only person on that mortgage. I paid every cent out of my own pocket." The judge nodded. Noted. No objections. The whole room went silent. Then my parents' side started unloading what they thought was evidence. Family photo albums of me as a baby, waved around like props. Julia's student loan statement, $18,000 for an art history degree. Spreadsheets listing the cost of every childhood meal I ever ate, right down to a $12.99 Happy Meal from 2003. They even pulled up an old text from me that just said, "Love you all." Apparently that was proof I owed them for life. They even dragged up my LinkedIn profile to show I worked in cybersecurity. Julia, with a straight face, presented a plan to turn my house into an artist retreat, despite never having made a single dime off her art. When it was my turn, I laid everything out clean. Bank statements, mortgage records, the deed, every document showing it was all mine. I threw in my community college diploma and proof that I'd been financially independent since 18. I even pulled out old emails from when I begged for help buying books in college, only to be told, "We're prioritizing Julia's tuition right now." Then came the turning point. The judge leaned forward and asked Julia, "What's your current occupation?" She swallowed hard. I'm in a transitional phase, focusing on developing my personal art. The judge pressed. Are you employed right now? Before she could answer, my mom jumped in. She's an artist, a digital content creator. The judge repeated, slower this time. Is she generating any income? That's when my aunt lost it. She shot up from her seat, shouting, income doesn't define a person's worth. She deserves that house more than he does. I didn't flinch. I just stood there, watching these people I used to call family unravel in front of a judge. The judge warned my aunt to sit down or be removed. Then she looked back at Julia. What kind of digital content do you make? Julia straightened her shoulders and said proudly, I'm a TikTok dancer and lifestyle influencer. The judge didn't even blink. And how much money does that bring in? Julia sighed. I'm building my brand. These things take time. You could practically feel the judge losing patience. Finally, she laid it out. So, let me get this straight. You want your son, who worked and saved for years, to sign his house over to your daughter, who has no job, no income, and no real plan? And you expect him to keep paying the mortgage? Their lawyer tried to jump in, but it was too late. The judge ended the session, saying she'd issue a written ruling within a week. 5 days later, the letter came, case dismissed. Update, the fallout. A week after the dismissal, everything exploded. My aunt absolutely lost her mind on the courthouse steps, screaming that I was dead to the family and that I'd die alone in that house. Julia collapsed to her knees like it was some soap opera scene, wailing, You stole my future. My mom spat out that I was no longer her son. My dad accused me of destroying the family. When I got home, I checked my security cameras. Thank God I'd had them installed as soon as the lawsuit started. The footage showed Julia sneaking up to my car, looking around nervously before backing off. Later, my aunt walked right up my driveway holding a can of spray paint, but bolted when my motion lights clicked on. I filed a police report immediately with the video. That night, Julia launched a GoFundMe titled, Help me buy a home after my brother stole my future. The description accused me of manipulating the legal system and abandoning family values. It got flagged so many times that GoFundMe froze it for investigation. Meanwhile, my mom blasted me in local Facebook groups, but admins yanked the posts for harassment. My aunt made some vague threats online, then deleted them when people started calling her out. I documented everything and filed for a restraining order. Then came the family group chat meltdown. One cousin, who never liked Julia, finally snapped back at my mom. You didn't pay for her $200,000 in tuition while I worked night shifts to afford community college. Now you want his house too? That opened the floodgates. Another cousin chimed in. Remember when I asked for $200 for books, and you bought Julia a MacBook instead? Someone else added. Her graduation party cost 15 grand. I didn't even get a dinner. And then Grandpa dropped the hammer. You two are a disgrace. He succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. Update 4 resolutions. 3 months later, I thought about letting it all fade, but after the attempted vandalism, I decided enough was enough. I filed the police report with all the footage, got a temporary restraining order that later became permanent against my aunt, and sent a formal takedown notice for the fake GoFundMe. Consequences started catching up to them. My aunt received a written warning at her job after she harassed me through work email. Julia's GoFundMe got shut down. My parents' reputation at church tanked. Small-town gossip travels fast. Now the family's split. Half stand with me, a chunk stay neutral, and a stubborn quarter still think I should have just handed Julia the house. Final update. 6 months later. Life's different now. My parents haven't spoken a word to me since. My aunt's restraining order became permanent after she violated the temporary one. Julia's working at Starbucks, complaining about it on Instagram every other day. Me? I got promoted at work, upgraded my security system, and adopted a rescue dog, Daisy, a sweet German Shepherd mix. I started hosting game nights with friends, and it feels good to be around people who don't judge my every move. Every so often, Mom texts asking for money. I don't answer. Dad sent me an email saying, When will you forgive us? Family should stick together. I left it unread. The best part? Grandpa now comes over every Sunday for dinner. We work on woodworking projects in my garage. Turns out he'd wanted to spend time with me for years, but my parents always came up with excuses. Just last week, he looked at me and said, I'm proud of you, son. You stood up for yourself. So, to everyone wondering, yes, my parents really thought suing their grown son for his own house would work. And yes, Julia truly believed she deserved it simply because she had a rougher time in school while I had a steady job. And yes, they're still telling anyone who will listen that I'm the one who tore the family apart. Truth is, some people just shouldn't be parents. So I'll leave it at this. I've got my house, my dog, my career, and finally, peace of mind.